you're watching Tell It Like It Is with public officials, and my name is Kathy Benuck. You know, in life, and especially in politics, we hear a lot of buzzwords, words that hold a kind of specific connotation and words that we hear over and over again. Now, the past couple of years have been tough ones. I think we all can agree. Years filled with higher taxes, skyrocketing prices for the necessities of life, closed businesses, and the loss of thousands of jobs. Now, while there have been some recoveries, hundreds of thousands of people still remain out of work, and hundreds of thousands more are working in jobs that they managed to find that pay significantly less than those that they lost. And thousands of these folks do live in New Hampshire too. Now, two of the biggest buzzwords that we've heard probably the most in recent times are economic development. Politicians at every level routinely say that economic development is their highest priority. And we hear that constantly in New Hampshire as well. Business and industry say that without it, they won't grow. Without it, new businesses won't be formed. Without it, existing businesses will not relocate in New Hampshire. Without it, big export opportunities will be lost. Without it, there'll be no new jobs for the unemployed. And without it, young people will continue to leave the state in search of greener pastures with better job opportunities. All of that's true. So what's behind the buzzwords? What is being done to promote economic development in New Hampshire? Has it been successful? Are efforts in New Hampshire in tune with today's business environment, or are they stale? Are they without measurable positive results? Do they anticipate and identify the future needs, not only just in New Hampshire, but in the nation and even internationally? Can New Hampshire be a model of ingenuity, or are we going to be relegated to second tier or lower prominence in the future with regard to a thriving economy, a healthy business climate, and an abundance of good jobs for a trained, talented, and capable workforce? Today we're going to be talking about economic development in New Hampshire with someone who has filed legislation in the state to change the way that we will go about making it more of a reality than a buzzword. My guest today is State Representative John Cebrowski of Bedford, who has authored a bill to revamp New Hampshire's economic development efforts and put it on a trajectory for more success. John has an amazing resume that it would take me at least 5 minutes to just summarize with bullet points. A resume that shows his vast experience and accomplishments in business, in industry, in government, and in economic development. A few weeks ago, I did a show with John on his legislation dealing with the state's budget process. At the beginning of the show, I described John's background. So today, so that we can get right to the subject, I won't repeat all of that again, but what I will ask you to do is to watch that show, particularly if you have not already seen it. The name of it is The State's Budget Process, Realistic or a Sham. To watch it, it's real easy. Go to the show website, which hopefully all of you go to a lot, www.tellitlikeitisnh.com. On the top toolbar, click on Regional and State Officials. When the new page comes up, you'll see him listed under the category of New Hampshire representatives. So, we have a big task ahead of us, and we'll go to it right now. John, glad to have you back. You were here just before Christmas.
I know. Very happy to see you again.
Well, so now I have to officially wish you Happy New Year, because it was before Christmas that we did our last one.
I know, that's true. Great to be here, and always love chatting with you, Kathy.
I wish I could have brought warm weather, though. I'm so sick of winter, John. You know, enough.
I know. Same here.
Well, you know, whenever we talk about government, as you know, a lot of acronyms get thrown around. And it's very, very easy for people who don't deal with acronyms every day to kind of get lost in a maze. So since DED, DRED, which everybody lovingly calls DREAD, and EDAC are going to be said a lot of times today, why don't you explain first to people what each one of those things are?
Certainly. Thank you very much. That's a great place to start, Kathy. Government is loaded with acronyms.
Yes.
DRED is the acronym for the Department of Resources and Economic Development.
In New Hampshire.
It is one of the major departments in the state, and one, in my view, which needs more attention and a lot more investment. And within DRED, we'll call it DRED from now on, there are 4 divisions.
Okay.
There are 4 divisions in there. One is the Division of Travel and Tourism Development. A second is the Division of Forests and Lands. The third is the Division of Parks and Recreation. And the fourth, the subject of my legislation, is the Division of Economic Development, or DED.
Okay.
So there's the acronyms for you. Now, you mentioned one other one, which is rather important there too, EDAC.
Yes.
What is that?
Yes.
The EDAC, or the Economic Development Advisory Council, was created via statute back in 2008.
Okay.
And it includes, and it's varied over time, 16 to 18 individuals from the private sector or from different associations and other organizations.
Like chambers or industry groups?
Yes, exactly.
Okay.
Exactly. To provide advice to the Division of Economic Development.
Okay.
That's what they're there for. They're supposed to be, experts to help, help out DED.
Now, how active is that group?
Well, that's not too good.
Yeah.
That's another tough question. I was a member of the EDAC
Yeah, I know
back
you were.
in 2011 and 2012. There is one House member and one Senate member always on that.
So you were the only
council.
House member?
I was the only one, as by design.
Wow.
There's only one
Wow.
of each. And quite frankly, we didn't do much at all. We were hardly ever asked for advice. And
Seriously?
Seriously. Hardly ever asked for advice.
Now, even though, obviously business and industry would have a lot of input,
Yes.
but people in the legislature would be key to perhaps maybe changing any laws, rules, regulations, or whatever that dramatically affect business and industry.
Yes. We could have done a lot, but we were never asked. As incredible as that might sound,
It is incredible.
We were never really asked to do any work to provide advice. It was a great networking opportunity. I met a lot of wonderful people. And as a result of the fact that we were never really engaged by the former management of DRED and DED, attendance at the regular EDAC meetings was very, very poor.
I could imagine.
And as I can recall...
why waste your time if your opinion isn't even valued?
Exactly. As I recall, I think there was only one meeting that I ever went to where we had a quorum.
Wow.
We drank a lot of coffee, we ate a lot of pastry. Meetings were often held in the conference rooms of major companies in New Hampshire, which was very nice. The hosting by those firms was much appreciated by everybody.
So it had to be disappointing to them too when
they were
up.
just their hosting, but we really weren't asked to do much. So that was one of the major forces that drove me to enter this legislation, House Bill 1416, which mandates that the state create on a regular and a continuing basis an economic development plan and process, a rolling plan over a 2-year period, so that at the end of a year, the next year gets added, at the end of the next year gets added. So we always constantly have in place an economic development plan, an operating plan.
I was just about to ask you
Yes.
if you were given a 1-minute soundbite, pretending we were on radio, for example, and you had to describe the bill, what would you say in the minute? And that was good, because that was a good kind of overall.
That's what and one thing I would like to emphasize is that is an operating plan or an action plan, an implementation plan, a make it happen plan.
Okay.
We don't have that. Now
Well,
may I just read one sentence from
Sure.
the bill?
Because I want to back you up a little bit too with some questions.
There are many of our listeners out there or viewers who may not have had much business experience with business plans or marketing plans and so on. In one sentence, and this is a quote, The plan shall identify specific actions and the responsibilities, the rationales, the timeframes, the resources required, barriers, if any, and the tracking and reporting of outcomes associated with those actions. In other words, the what, the who, the when, the how much, and what's getting in the way of it, and what are the results have been.
All right. Now, obviously, the focus of today's show is this pending legislation.
Yes. Yep.
Now, I know that in addition to gaining co-sponsorship by Bedford Senator Andy Sanborn and one of the superstar Republican House leaders, Pam Tucker, your other 11 co-sponsors include 5 Democrats, which makes it really bipartisan.
This is a very, very bipartisan subject. As a matter of fact, on the Democratic side, we have Dave Borden, who is the current chair of the Science and Technology Committee, and also have Nada Kane.
Good person to have.
Yes, excellent. Nada Kane, who happens to be the Deputy House Speaker. So we have some...
so these are some folks who really can help it move along.
And Representative Pat Abrami, who is one of the members of the leaders, I should say, one of the leaders of the business caucus.
Neat.
So out of the 13 co-sponsors, 4 senators, and 9 representatives, both Republicans and Democrats, Kathy, there is a tremendous amount of interest and frustration, coupled with the fact that the state has not had an economic development plan for some time. Do you know when the last one was?
No.
2001.
That's a long time ago.
13 years.
A whole lot has happened in those years.
13 years ago, we have not had an economic development plan.
That is a long time.
It's a long, long time.
So now it does, and as I kind of opened up saying that it seems like everyone on every level of government, state and local included, and all of the business and industry leaders continuously talk about the pressing need for a good economic development plan in New Hampshire.
Right.
So, I mean, basically, I think you're saying to me that right now, today, we don't have a specific plan with specific goals.
No, we don't.
Is there any at least defined coordination between state and local communities and between the state and the state's businesses and industries, or is it all kind of catch it if you can?
As it relates to DED, it's more catch as catch can, right now. And one of the major elements of the bill is the request to ask the Division of Economic Development to reach out on a more formal basis and integrate all the other entities in the state who may be involved in economic development. For example, the Greater Manchester Chamber of Commerce, the Nashua Chamber of Commerce, the Peace Trade.
All of which represent hundreds of different kinds of businesses.
The Business and Industry Association. There are numerous organizations out there. The last plan we had in place back in 2001, and this was in the Shaheen administration, was very well done. A very, very comprehensive document, but strategic, very high level, visionary.
So what happened?
A lot of analysis.
Why did that fall by the wayside?
Because there was no mechanism in place to implement it. No mechanism in place to implement it. That's why what we have here today.
So it was
with
mainly
this House,
theoretical then?
Yes, exactly. So what we have here is very much, let's call it down in the weeds, an implementation, make it happen plan. As you said when you opened the program, the current budget for DED right now is approximately $4 million.
That is a question of mine. Are we getting a return on investment on that?
We don't know.
We don't even know.
And we have about 60, and this is one of the reasons. One of the reasons for the plan is to seek what is happening. It would be it's natural for us in the legislature and natural for the folks watching to say, well, what's happening? What is being done? We don't know. For years, Kathy, there has been no real reporting. There has
not even reporting.
There's been no metrics in terms of
So not even the
something that
legislature has been
No,
updated.
we don't have really anything we can point to. So the two key elements of this House bill are to ensure that there is regular reporting, and it asks at the end of every calendar year that the division and the department submit the current status of that plan. Where are we? What's happening next? And
Well, yeah, that makes sense.
and it happens, I put that reporting date at the end of the calendar year, so it meshes with the state budget process, something we spoke about a month or so ago. So now when the commissioner of DRED goes to the governor in the late fall of every even-numbered year, and then to the House in the early part of the odd-numbered year, there is rationalization or justification for the dollars needed and where and how they will be spent. So that it links. It's intended to link the budget process. So now, the commissioner can go forward and say specifically, I need this much money for the division because this is what we want to do to improve economic development and job creation in the state of New Hampshire.
Now, in terms of economic development, I realize that, it would be hard to have a absolutely definitive answer. But in your opinion,
Yes.
how does New Hampshire rank when compared to other states? Are we really a true player, or are we still a wannabe?
Wow, that's a tough question. I think in many ways, we've got a lot of wonderful firms here in New Hampshire.
I know we do.
Make no mistake about that.
I know we do, but we want more.
Do you know we have almost 2,000 manufacturers in the state of New Hampshire, and manufacturing is our #1 industry?
Probably a lot of people don't realize that.
It's #1.
I
Now,
think a
many
lot
of
of
them,
people might guess, truth be told, I think
Yes.
a lot of people might guess that it was more involved with tourism because we hear so much about
Yes.
tourism.
Well, that's our #2 industry.
Yeah.
But manufacturing is #1. And out of the approximately 2,000, the majority of them are very small, maybe
Well, yeah.
maybe 5 people or less. But there are a lot of big ones,
Well,
like General
5
Electric.
times 2,000, if all of them were 5, that's
Yeah,
still 10,000 jobs.
That's right.
No matter how you cut it.
We've got some big ones and some good ones like Hypertherm up in Lebanon, New Hampshire Ball Bearing in Laconia, and GE Jet Engine in Hooksett.
That other company there out in
BAE
Peterborough that just had the fire.
Yes.
They have a big workforce.
New
There's
Hampshire-
a lot of them,
New
yeah.
Hampshire Ball Bearing, BAE down in Nashua.
Yeah.
So and a lot of a lot of good firms. So that's our number one industry. But the growth, while the division has certainly done some good work to try and recruit more firms. And I don't want to take anything away from them. They have done some of that, but we don't know if it's been based on some type of plan, a formal plan. Planning is a fundamental management requirement.
Of course.
Whether you're running a restaurant, or whether you're running a dry cleaners, or whether you're running a big high-tech business.
Now, you just brought up the word fundamental,
Yes.
and that was kind of one of the questions
Right.
that I had for you.
Yes.
In the course of your career,
Yes.
you have been deeply involved in many different initiatives to boost economic development. So what are the fundamentals of a good economic plan? And has New Hampshire legitimately come close to establishing the fundamentals in a manner that we could say is comprehensive enough to say that we know where we're at right now and we know where we need to be going?
Well, I'll give you a few fundamentals. Number, I've already read, that one sentence
Yeah,
from the bill,
yeah.
which describes what plan is.
Yeah.
Another fundamental is strategy. What
Okay.
is the strategy? And let me just read that sentence here also, so
Okay.
our viewers better
Yeah,
understand that.
describe, what are the
Okay.
components of a strategy as well.
Strategy means an overall direction or course that identifies how the state will convey its value to the business and industry community, how it will leverage its strengths and assets, and the broad themes that will emphasize that are attractive to retaining and recruiting business and industry. So that's a second fundamental. A third one is reaching for resources.
Okay.
There's a lot of organizations or entities in the state that can help DED in putting together this plan and help drive economic development. I'll give you one example.
Okay.
About a month ago, I had a conversation with the president of Plymouth State University,
Okay.
Sarah Jane Steen, and I asked her,
Which is also a big employer.
yes, yeah, Plymouth State. I asked, have you ever worked with the division and helped them with any projects associated with economic development? For example, maybe a team of graduate students, doctoral students, or undergraduate students. And her answer was yes, but she could only name one instance.
That's all.
And that's one campus. And I'm thinking to myself, you know, we have 4 major players in the university system of New Hampshire. There's a lot of help that can be provided there. Another good example, or another fundamental of good planning, is teamwork. Teamwork. And let me cite another example here. The Business and Industry Association, or the BIA, an organization that I feel does a pretty good job. They act as the state's Chamber of Commerce. To their credit, to the BIA's credit, they created a strategic plan, a high-level strategic economic development plan here a few months ago. They did a beautiful job, visionary, comprehensive, a lot of wonderful stuff in it. It talks about things which DRED or DED do not do, but need to be addressed. For example, infrastructure, roads, highways, healthcare.
All of which plays in.
Yes, workforce development, or workforce training, labor laws, or things of this nature. So they did a nice job on that, and they created that, I believe, out of a similar frustration that all of us in the legislature had, that there has been this emptiness, this vacuum, you know, for so long.
Now, what was the state's response to the BIA plan? Anything?
I think pretty positive. I haven't heard anything.
Been anything formal, other than
I haven't heard
good job, guys?
I haven't heard
Really?
that, but I think they've done a good job. I think they've done a good job. So my point here being is that another fundamental of a good economic planning is teamwork, is partnering. And to a greater extent, I would hope that through this plan, and the plan asks for it, DED reach out to all these other entities, you know, to seek their help, to develop closer relationships. I'm not saying they never have had those relationships in the past, but let's raise them to a higher level and work more closely.
Well,
the BIA is one good example. Another good example that I can think of would be the New Hampshire, you know, High Tech Association. That would be another great one. I've already cited the university
As well as
system.
some of the parent national groups.
Yes.
You know, National Association of Manufacturers, or
Exactly.
any number of groups that are involved in it in multiple states.
Another
and
great
could bring
place.
something to the table.
Yes, another great place to partner would be the community college system.
Yeah.
We've got great leadership,
Yeah.
I believe, at the community college system. So let's work more together. We're a small state, Kathy. You know, we don't have a ton of money to put into this as many other states do. So it makes teamwork and partnering.
And it's a state where we can identify the players, too.
Easily.
They're not anonymous.
No, and we don't have to drive too far to find them.
Yeah.
You know, if we want to have a personal conversation. So that resource utilization, the teamwork, the partnering, the strategy, the actual plan, plan itself, all those details in there. It's a action plan, you know, a make it happen plan. Let's do all those. Let's do all of those things.
Are other states doing a better job than we are?
Yes, I believe so.
Yeah. Can you?
Good question. Yeah,
Can you cite any examples?
Yes, I can.
Yeah.
I've started working on this legislation about 10, 11 months ago. In the first place I went, my first action item was to go to legislative research and ask one of the researchers there to begin researching the rest of the country,
Yeah, because why reinvent the wheel when something's
Exactly.
working somewhere?
We took about, it must have been 4 or 5 months, and we've got responses back from all 49 other states.
Is that right?
Because I wanted to make sure I covered the whole country. All 49 states on what they were doing. Did they have something in statute or some type of legislative provision, you know, that mandated an economic development plan and strategy and so on? And wouldn't you know that 40 out of 50 have some type of a provision in place and mandate the regular creation on either a 1-year or a 2-year, in a few cases, a 4 or 5-year basis for economic plan. They have that in place.
Well,
and I've gone to their websites.
Yeah.
You want to, Kathy, you want to see some of the creativity out there.
Well, when you hear of some of the things going on, just, you know, if you read the news and hear X company opening a huge plant in some state or whatever, I mean, obviously there's some success there.
We moved up here from Virginia several years ago. Amanda and I moved to Bedford several years ago. We're sort of fond of Bedford. It's a great place. New Hampshire's a great state. I'm not going anywhere else.
You're here for the duration.
I'm here for the duration. But Virginia does a superb job with economic development. As a matter of fact, Northern Virginia now.
And you were on.
Yeah, I was on the District Export Council down there. And Northern Virginia now characterizes itself as Silicon Valley East.
Really?
They've done such a great job with high tech. So they've done a good job. Texas has done a great job. Utah, North Dakota.
Yeah.
Huh? I mean, there are
out in the middle of flyover land.
Yes, there are several out there which have done a great job, and I have shared all that research with the commissioner.
You have?
Yes. Now, one thing I would like to say here is, and this is good. This is good. We now, as of today, we have a new commissioner of the Department of Resources and Economic Development.
Mm-hmm.
Great young man. I think he's a good leader. I think he's going to position this state well, for growth. Jeff Rose comes out of BAE. I think Jeff has now been in a position for, I'm guessing here, maybe 7, 8, or 9 months, something like that. And so I have high hopes, that Jeff will really move this thing forward, because we have had a leadership vacuum. So we've got a new leader, we've got a new engineer, driving the economic development train.
And this is somebody who was with a company big enough that they have lots of options as to where they're going to locate or where they're going to expand or where they're going to build a new building or what have you.
Comes from the private sector, has a good solid understanding of good management principles and practices. And then on top of that, we just recently, in the last month, filled the position of Director of Economic Development of DED. Kathy, that position, and this is sad, that position had been open for 5 years.
5 years? Why?
5 years. We have not had a Director of Economic Development
and that's appointed by the governor?
Since 2008. And the young woman who is now in that job, Carmen Lawrence.
Why would Lynch have not seen that as kind of a high priority thing?
I don't know. Kathy, I asked him that question, eyeball to eyeball, just as you and I talking today. He didn't answer my question. It was in a mini meeting of many legislators, and he wanted to go on to something else, obviously, for some reason, I don't know. But think about this for a minute. We haven't had a director there for 5 years.
Well, I mean, that's kind of absurd when you consider what's been going on.
Yes, we haven't had any kind of plan for 13 years.
Yeah, that's absurd.
It's no wonder that, our business taxes, which are the biggest chunk of general fund revenue, have been basically stuck at around 23% of overall general fund, revenue into the general fund. My gosh, we should be well over 30%. Now, with new leadership in place, and the requirement to, on a regular basis, to keep this plan going, I have a suspicion that over the next year, 2 or 3, you're going to really see New Hampshire blossom from an economic development point of view. I really do.
How much?
We're in a competition.
Well, with
other states.
Yeah, of course we are.
And they're not
course we
sitting.
are.
They're not sitting on their duff. You know, they're out there actively recruiting new businesses. They're out there making themselves a more attractive destination, you know, for business and industry, not only from within the United States, but from overseas. So one of the things we have to take a look at here too is, in this plan, is think about, you know, firms coming from Europe, from Asia.
Yeah.
Why not New Hampshire as a
Well,
destination?
yeah. Why not?
Why not? Why go to South Carolina? You know?
Well, the weather's a little warmer.
Yeah, it is warmer, you know, but we're, you know, I've worked down there, and let me tell you, New Hampshire's
The bugs are bigger too, though.
The bugs are bigger.
The
New Hampshire's
humidity's higher.
a lot prettier place.
Not that we're
No, when I was in the Marine
partial
Corps,
or anything.
when I was in the Marine Corps, that was the first place I was stationed.
There you
The
go.
Marine Corps Air Station, Beaufort, South Carolina.
Yeah, there you go.
Wonderful spot, but
You weren't
I'll-
sad to leave, right?
no, I was. No. But I think New Hampshire's got a little bit over that.
Now let me ask you this.
Sure.
Even here in Bedford,
Yes.
you know, we've heard over the past, I'm going to say 5-6 years at least, a lot of talk about the need for more economic development right here in this town, you know, to broaden the tax base, the whole 9 yards. And I'm sure Bedford isn't the only community in New Hampshire.
No, many.
So how much, if any, help, assistance, whatever, has Dred given to the local communities, or are the local communities kind of, you know, fighting it out on their own terms?
Well, they probably haven't given any, or
None at all.
if, you know, very little. And again, that's one of the things that the bill asks for, is to let's build the relationships and this sense of partnering. Let's go out. I hope the director and her staff go out and seek these people, get themselves on the agenda, get themselves on the mailing list.
Yeah,
you know, have themselves invited in as a guest speaker.
Yeah.
Share their operating plan with these different entities. Listen to what they have to say. See if there's anything that's going on in those communities that they can help, or vice versa. It's a give and a take. Got to work together. Teamwork works. You know, I spent my entire career in business and marketing and sales management and business development, and I have seen over and over again how, you know, the value of teamwork and partnering and reaching out and utilizing your resources, how that works.
Now let me ask you this.
Sure.
Of the other 5 New England states,
Yes.
are any of them way more aggressive than us?
I don't think so.
No?
Maybe Massachusetts may be. I think Vermont is the only other. Remember I said earlier there's 40 states that have some type of a provision or statute to plan, 10 don't.
Yeah.
I know Vermont is one that does not. Vermont is one that does not. But let me use this opportunity to correct something I said earlier about New Hampshire not having a statute or anything that requires a plan. We do.
It's just not being followed.
It's not being followed. The OEP, another acronym for you, the Office of Energy and Planning,
There we go.
has the mandate to create a regular state development plan. Very comprehensive. Oh my gosh, it has everything in it. You know, it's just
Well,
very,
wouldn't
very high.
shouldn't that be a natural state partner then?
Yeah, that's a
in all of this?
natural part. Well, there's one line in that statute for OEP, in that state development plan, that says to create an economic development plan.
One line.
One line. Now, that really doesn't make much sense.
No.
Because they don't have the people, as DED does, and they don't have the dollars, as DED does, to do it. So I've spoken with the commissioner of OEP, and I've modified that in this bill. I've modified that current statute that says that particular line or responsibility in the state development plan will simply refer to what the Division of Economic Development will be doing. One other item from current legislation is the statute that created the position of Director of Economic Development. There's also one line.
How long ago was that?
Oh my gosh, I don't, that many decades. That's
that far back.
I think that's a couple decades. There's one line in there that says, create an economic development program and plan. hasn't
Well,
been.
that's so broad.
It hasn't
I
been-
mean, we all know
it
that
hasn't
unless
been done.
there are goals that are
Yes.
specific, unless there are timelines established,
That's right.
you know, the normal reaction of most human beings is to say, well, we'll get to it.
Yes. Yep.
You know, but it's a little different when you know you have to deliver by a date
That's
and
right.
know a product that you have to deliver by a date.
Yeah. Well, that's here. It's the end of December, December 31st, beginning December 31st,
Yeah.
2014. The first operating plan, you know, be submitted. Then every year thereafter.
Yeah,
Where are you? What have we done?
yeah.
And this is, it's never finished. It's never
Well,
finished.
no, it can't be because
It's a living
yeah,
document.
would have to be because
so
life
as-
keeps changing.
Yeah. So as completed action items
Mm-hmm.
get taken care of or get done, get completed, so to speak, you can pull them off
Mm-hmm.
and you keep the results. But you're always adding new ones.
Yeah.
You're always adding new
Absolutely.
ones. And so that plan is a living document. It lives
Mm-hmm.
on the computer of the director, you know, and her staff, constantly being updated, changed, modified, goals, objectives, new tasks, different responsibilities, different resources being brought in. It's a moving, living tool which keeps New Hampshire, you know, moving forward.
Well, I mean, as it should be,
Yes,
because
yeah.
even a small business have to have some kind of a business plan if they're going to survive.
Absolutely. Can you imagine walking into a bank if you wanted to start
Yeah,
a
really.
business
Yeah.
without a business
Yeah,
plan in
yeah.
hand?
Give me money
I
because
don't-
I have a good idea. Yeah.
I don't think so.
No, I don't think so
I don't
either.
think so. No, that's not going to work. Right.
Let's kind of, you know, we've kind of talked generally,
Sure.
but now let's look at the bill itself,
Okay.
House Bill 1416, and explain to people what it will do, what changes it's going to bring about, and what is it going to do that will actually result in, let's say, a more robust economic development in New Hampshire.
Okay. I've already
I know
defined.
that's kind of a big, I know.
I've already kind of
Yeah,
defined
yeah,
and read what plan
you've been
what
in
plan
all the
and
different
strategy
parts of
is.
it, yeah.
But-
But maybe now pull it together.
Okay, you kind of led me to something which
Good.
the legislation defines as
See, I
what
can lead
should-
people into things.
You're good.
Can
You're good. on what it should include. So let me just highlight a couple of things.
Okay.
May I do that?
Absolutely,
Okay.
yeah.
All right. Number one, we have to consider the entire state. The plan has got to consider the entire state. We know the North.
That's a good point because a lot of
Yes.
people think of like Manchester,
No.
Nashua,
The entire
you know,
state.
the big places, not
Yes.
maybe the little places that are way up north or
So,
what have you.
and, you know, the North Country is particularly problematic.
Yes.
So let's maybe have a little bit more attention there. So the whole state. Number two, an analysis.
Mm-hmm.
Where are we right now? Or in business, you would call it a SWOT analysis, another acronym for you, SWOT.
Okay.
Got that?
Yeah, I got it. What's it mean?
Strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, threats.
Sorry. Ah,
Okay,
good,
so
good.
an analysis. And the bill asks.
And I assume that we would press for a very blunt one.
Yes.
Yes.
Yes. We've got
Okay.
strengths, and that analysis, as the legislation states, should be heavily contributed to or led by the EDAC.
Okay.
Another thing is the needs forecast. What does current business and industry need?
Does the state even know?
What? I don't know. I don't think so. You know, what are their priorities? What are the things that are really burrs under their saddles? This is really a basic marketing question. You know, you always want to understand what your customer needs, what your customer is looking for.
And that would
I-
have to factor in legislation, regulation,
Yes,
everything else.
Yeah, and I know, since you used the word regulation, I know two of the issues that business and industry currently have today. One of them is regulations. You know, several onerous regulations. Well, DED can help with the legislature mitigate those regulations. Another thing that's a big need is workforce training,
Yeah.
workforce development.
Yeah.
So maybe we work a little more closely with the community college system or the university system. The fourth point is the identification of economic, demographic, and other trends.
And
that
those
may-
certainly have
That may
changed.
provide some guidance. And a good source of information there
Yeah.
is the New Hampshire Center for Public Policy
Yeah.
up in Concord, and I went to them early on in designing this bill. They've got a lot of great data. They track a lot of stuff. They can be a great aid to DED. The next item would be, how about the identification of business sectors that are of strategic importance to the state's economy? Okay, advanced manufacturing, for example.
Okay.
We're, we're good at that. How about specific strategies to, build or enhance that sector? How about new industries that should be targeted? What's out there that we should seek that seems to have a long-term future? We don't.
We don't even know that?
No, let's go find out. Let's go do a little research and find out what may be types of business or industries that we want to recruit in here and differentiate New Hampshire from other states. Another item is, how about seeking economic development ideas and advice and information from other entities throughout the state to strengthen the strategies and plans. For example, the U.S. Commerce Department, local governments, okay, regional planning commissions, regional economic development corporations, chambers of commerce, business associations. Next item, how about innovative programs for business recruitment and retention? What can we do a little more innovative nature? How about
it doesn't seem like we do anything now that's innovative.
Not much. Yeah, we do some, but let's take it up a notch.
Yeah.
Let's plan for it.
Yeah.
You know? How about economic performance metrics? We don't have a dashboard of results and drivers of how well we're doing economically. That should be done. How about interdepartmental agreements with other departments in the state that have a stake in economic development? For example, the Department of Environmental Services or the Department of Transportation. How can we work together with those a little bit better?
And if you kept talking, that essentially, Health and Human Services, Department of Education, I mean, they're all going to factor in.
They all factor in.
Someplace in the big
picture. We're one
picture.
big team.
Yeah.
Yeah. Another item is, how about identification of how the state could petition for and receive monies that may be available at the federal level? Do we have a sufficient level of relationship with our congressional delegation? I bet that those folks know of some resources that can be pulled from the Commerce Department for other places that may be able to help. Let's heighten that relationship. How about workforce education and training? Export growth. Okay, that's another great place.
Do we have
to grow.
much on the way of export now?
Yes, we
out
do.
of New Hampshire?
Yeah, that is one of our success stories.
It is?
Yes, it is. I think
What are we exporting out?
Oh, all these manufacturers that I've referred to.
Yeah.
Many of them export. We do a pretty decent job at that, and that is one area of DED that I think that has done a particularly good job. But there's still room for growth. There's still room for growth. And then finally, the division needs a liaison with the legislature, with the general court. So as they discover needs from business and industry, with regulations, for example, I've got somebody formally dedicated or formally attached to.
So this would be an actual staff person, I assume?
Yes, exactly. Yes, someone on
And there's nothing like that now?
No, the new commissioner has put someone in place, or that's about to be announced. So all of those things, need to be considered in that plan, and the legislation, asks for all of that. So that's, and it's nothing here that's overly comprehensive. I've kept this as simple as can be.
No, I mean it's a plan.
And a lot of the ideas
to replace the lack of a plan.
Yes, a lot of the ideas in here have come from other sponsors, co-sponsors of it, have come from chambers that I've spoken to, have come from the New Hampshire High Tech Council, and a couple of other entities that I've gone to and worked with. So what we have here is not something that John created on his own. No, no.
Right.
One of the reasons I'm so pleased with the way this has come, and Commissioner Rose himself has put a lot into this.
He has?
Oh, yes.
Yeah.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, we've sat down with this, several times, and he's made suggestions and modifications to it, which I've readily accepted. He's been on target. So what we've got here is something that I would characterize as having been vetted, reviewed very, 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 very carefully by a lot of people. This is very, very important. This is our number one priority, Kathy.
Well, it would seem as though it would have to be.
The economy drives everything else in the state.
Yeah. Now, obviously something like this, you know,
Yes.
big business, big industry is going to play a key role. But in terms of employers, obviously hospitals, for example, are big
Right.
employers. Obviously that whole tourist industry, whether it be the, you know, 10-bed motel
Right.
or the best restaurant in, you know, Nashua or whatever,
Right.
all tie into that and collectively employ a lot
Oh,
of
yeah,
people.
That's right, yeah.
Is there a place at the table for all of these folks to both contribute and participate? Or is it going to be really limited to the big guys, so to speak?
Well, no, not limited. When you say big guys, do you mean the manufacturing companies? Is that what you had in
Well,
mind?
yeah,
or?
the manufacturers, the high tech, you know, the
Yes, it
the
is.
companies we all know and hear about. You know what I mean?
It is more focused it is more focused to them.
Yeah.
With for one big reason, because those firms, whether they be the 10-employee small manufacturer or the one that has 500, they're the ones that have the payroll. The payroll.
Well, I guess
that
that's
then
why I
feeds-
asked, though, because
that then feeds the other small businesses, that feeds the local bakery,
gotcha.
the local
But
restaurant,
that's why I
the
asked,
local hardware
because
store.
hospitals employ
Yes.
hundreds, if not thousands,
right.
of people, and a good many of them, physicians and such, have to be recruited
That's
from
right.
somewhere else.
Yes, they do.
I mean, we don't have enough, you know, graduates of, say, for instance,
Right.
Dartmouth Medical School
right.
to staff all of our hospitals and medical facilities.
right.
So shouldn't there be some place at the table for groups like that as well?
Well, that's Health and Human Services, and then we're
Yeah.
not touching that.
But it ties into economic development, I guess, is where I'm coming from.
Yes, it does. Yes, it does. And
Okay.
as I mentioned earlier, you know, you heard me say that the that the BIA strategic plan
Yeah.
touches on healthcare. So that's, you know, that's in a different arena.
But we
but
have
not to be
some
touched here.
health-related device manufacturers in New Hampshire, don't we?
Yes, I believe we do.
So,
I believe we do.
I mean,
Yeah.
again, kind of that,
Yeah. The focus.
kind of a
you know,
parallel path
yeah,
to a little bit of a degree.
Yeah, the focus, you know, I believe, and of course we have to leave this up to the commissioner and director, but I think one of the main focus has to be advanced manufacturing. That's where the future lies, not only for the state, but for the country. Manufacturing simple commodity type items that are cost intensive, labor intensive, they're gone. You know, it's highly unlikely that they will ever come back to this country. Those products are being made in Asia or in Africa or in Southeast Asia or South America or somewhere else. But our focus needs to be on the advanced manufacturing. That's
attracting more of them into the state.
That is the future.
Because, I mean, it doesn't seem as though we have a huge problem trying to attract the small entrepreneurs.
No.
Or the small high-tech companies.
No.
You know, the web developers and those folks.
I think we do a
seem
pretty
to have
good
a
job
lot
at
of
that.
young people that are kind of
We do.
entrepreneurial and,
Right.
and those things.
And we have here's another, the SBDC, the Small Business
Yeah,
Development Corporation,
yeah.
has done a pretty good job. But coming back to the
Now, should they be
high tech.
at this table?
Oh, yes, they're named in the bill.
They're in the bill.
They're named in the bill.
Okay.
Another reason this is important is that our university system rightfully focuses.
Another big employer.
Oh, big focuses on STEM. There's another acronym.
Yeah.
You know what STEM stands
Yeah,
for?
science, technology,
Technology, and-
engineering, mathematics.
Thank you. You want to say that one more time for our audience?
Science, technology, engineering, mathematics.
There you go.
Yeah.
So they're focused on cranking out more of those kind of graduates.
they are.
Well, but guess what? If we don't have the firms here in New Hampshire,
They're gonna leave.
Guess where those students
No,
go?
they're going to live after they crank them out. Yeah.
They're going to leave.
Yeah.
We don't want them to leave.
Yeah.
We want them to stay here. But in order to stay here, I've got to bring in, you know, more of those type
Well,
of
yeah,
firms.
there have to be jobs for them.
See, this whole thing just is kind of puzzled. It all fits together.
Mm-hmm.
You know, so all these other entities, these other organizations, educations, the departments, the divisions, the chambers, it's all got to fit. All got to fit.
And obviously, economic development affects everything. I mean,
does.
It affects housing. It affects everything.
Everything. It's the engine that drives.
Yeah.
In my view, you know, I picture this as a train. okay? The train has been stalled at the station for a long time.
Yeah.
It hadn't gone anywhere. Well, we got a new engineer on the train now, all right? That's good. And we got to get going. And that's the Division of Economic Development, the Department of Resources and Economic Development, pulling this thing. If they do well, it's going to pull all the other state agencies along. All those other state agencies who need help, who need additional funding. Now that's going to come from, you know, what's pulling the train.
Now, I don't know if this would be considered a partisan question. I mean, I suppose it would depend on who's sitting hearing it.
Oh, absolutely not. No, this
no,
is...
No, I mean, the question I'm going to ask you.
Okay.
Our governor, who just happens to be a Democrat currently, what's her stance on all of this, or do we know? I mean, is she behind this? Is she aware of it? Is she pushing for it? What?
I haven't asked her that. I haven't asked her that myself. I've asked the commissioner.
Okay.
If he's asked her, and he has spoken to her, and I would have to believe that she is. Being this is a.
Now, are any of the relevant commissioners in this her appointees, or are they all they're all carryovers?
No. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. So, well, no. Wait a minute. Let me stop right there.
Okay.
The new commissioner of DRED and the new director of the Division of Economic Development are her appointees.
They are.
They are. They are.
Okay.
But this is very bipartisan.
Oh no, I know that.
This is one of those.
But obviously, I mean, if a governor's on board, it kind of makes a difference, particularly if there's going to be legislative changes.
Oh no, for anyone in state government not to be, you know, in favor of economic development would. Well,
I guess I'm trying to pin down that.
Would be a suicide.
I mean, you know, they'd probably be stoned if they said they weren't in favor.
Oh yeah.
But there's in favor verbally, and there's in favor boots to the ground in favor.
Yeah, I know.
So, I guess that's what I'm trying to find out. You know.
I think we'll be okay here. Yeah.
You know, we are moving along. We're kind of on the tail end of the show.
Let me tell you where the bill is at.
Yes, I want to. Well, what I want to do is I want you to tell me where this bill is at.
Sure.
I want you to tell people or give people a little bit of update on House Bill 657, which is the one we did the previous show on that will refine and improve the state's budget process.
Okay.
I want you to tell me if the two bills tie together. And,
you give me a lot of questions to remember. Why don't give me one of those questions one at a time?
One at a time? All right.
Okay.
All right. What's the status of House Bill 1416 right now?
The status of this bill right now.
Yes.
It's been heard by the House Commerce Committee.
Okay.
And last week they had an executive session with an ought to pass.
Okay.
Ought to pass.
Which is a good thing.
Ought to pass motion.
Well, do you know what the vote was offhand?
No, that hadn't occurred yet. There was one question. There was one question that came up that needs to be answered before the vote will be taken. That vote will be taken next Tuesday.
Oh.
That vote will be taken next Tuesday, and I fully expect that it'll be ought to pass again and probably a near unanimous vote there.
Okay, and then where does it go? It goes to the full House, not to another committee?
No. Then it goes to the full House for vote, and that will probably take place the week after.
Okay.
And then of course on to the Senate in a month or so.
So people who are hearing us who go, yes, this has to happen, should they be doing anything?
Good question. Yes, it would be good to call their local representative or local senator, as they may choose, and reach out to them and say, hey, please support or please vote for House Bill 1416. The economic development plan and process. That would be very helpful. Yes.
Okay. You asked me to do it one at a time.
Okay. Go ahead.
So the second part was, do you want to give us an update on the House Bill 657? Which is the one that we talked about on our last show together to refine and improve the whole state budget process.
Yes, thank you very much. That passed the House.
Okay.
That passed the House, full House vote, I think it was 2 weeks ago, and the vote was 307 to 4.
Wow.
So.
Hey, with that bunch, that's.
So.
With that bunch and all the fuss and fuming you guys do up there, wow.
Well. It's something which makes a lot of sense to, for the state. And I think your next question.
Now, where is that going? To a Senate committee first?
Yes, that will go to Senate Finance.
Finance.
That will go to Senate
Is
Finance.
not Andy Sanborn on Senate Finance? Or not?
Senator
No.
Sanborn
Kinda-
chairs the Commerce Committee.
That's right,
I believe.
Commerce,
I
yeah.
don't think.
Yeah,
I don't
yeah, yeah.
believe he's on.
That's right.
But it will go
Of course,
there.
they're a little easier to deal with only 24 of them.
Yes, it
as
is.
opposed to you people that.
And I've got good support on,
You
on
people
that.
are like a big rabbit hutch, you
Right.
know. There's just so many of you.
The governor supports that, and
He
the
does.
current state budget director does, and the past state budget director, who is now a commissioner of the Department of Revenue Administration, supports it. And last week I presented it and sought the endorsement of all the commissioners. They have a monthly commissioners meeting, and there must have been about 25 or so present. And I asked for their endorsement. And the word back that I got is that they will, in fact, endorse it. So it's to their benefit.
I think it's safe for me to say that you do see a connection between the two bills.
Oh, there's absolutely no question.
Okay.
No question.
Okay. Now,
Yes.
a
Now-
lot of people, you know, hear about legislation and so on, and even though they are informed, because I've
Right.
gotten emails, people saying to me, "How do I find out?" If somebody wants to read the bills or track the legislation, why don't you tell people how to do that?
Thank you, Kathy. A good way to look at this bill as well as the other one is go to the state website, which is www.nh.gov, and then look for the state government dialog box, which will be on the right-hand side of your screen, and click on Legislative Branch. Legislative Branch. When that comes up, then look for the State Legislation Dashboard dialog box, which will also be on the right. And in that box, you'll see a little square that asks you to find a 2014 bill. And all you need to do is type in HB 1416. HB 1416. Click on Find Now, and up will pop a new screen asking you whether you wanted to print out the bill in either an HTML or a PDF format, whichever you want. Or of course you can read it on the screen. And you can do the same thing with the budget process
And
bill.
you can find out the status of the legislation.
Find
at
out the
same
status
time.
of it right there. Again,
Okay.
you know, again, that one is House Bill 6.
And if it's in a committee, you can then click
657.
on a committee to find out who
Yes.
sits on it and their
Yeah.
email and addresses and phone numbers.
The
And we
state
are
gov.
almost out of time, John.
Let me just add one more thing here. You asked me about what the common denominator might
Yeah.
be with these two bills.
We're down
And
to
the common
seconds.
it's in one sentence: good management.
Ah, all right.
Good management
Okay.
and leadership. That is the common thread that goes through both of these.
Sounds
How's
like
that?
a plan to me.
Okay?
Yes. And you're coming in right on the wire here.
Okay.
Look at that. Look at that clock. We're ticking down from
All right.
25
No
seconds.
more questions?
No more questions.
Oh.
You did a great job.
Okay.
Hey, did you think the hour would go by so fast?
No.
Nobody ever
it
does.
It always does.
I always tell them it's going to fly. Nobody believes me.
Great questions.
Well, I hope.
Great questions.
Hope you
Good
got out
job.
everything you wanted to.
Yes, I think so. Thank you very much.
Thanks for being here, and
Okay,
you know
thank
you're
you
always
ver-
welcome.
Thank you very much.
Okay, well, today is one of those hear and learn shows. I hope you got a lot out of it, and I hope you recognize that if you agree with some of the things that John said, like the need for economic development and such, that you will not just sit back and wait for something to be in the newspaper and hear how it went, but that you will indeed pick up your phone or pull out your laptop and either call or send an email to legislators. It doesn't have to be just the local legislators. It can be people on committees and everything else, and say to them, hey, stop fooling around. We need to take care of this. We need to put our people to work. We need to have companies here, and we need to make New Hampshire better. And that's telling it like it is. Thanks for watching, and until the next time, bye-bye.